When I rode my Zero SRS from Michigan to North Carolina in April 2024 for Electrics at the Dragon, I encountered rain a few times, so my fair weather navigation solution of my phone mounted on my handlebars wasn't going to cut it anymore. I briefly looked at waterproof motorcycle specific GPSs, but wasn't willing to pay those prices. Fellow Zero rider Bill Bortsfield of EV Rider reviewed the AutoCast Android Auto Screen, but even that was a bit more than I wanted to pay. Poking around Amazon, I found this WEUASTE unit, or however you say it, that looked amazingly like the AutoCast at a much better price point. So I took a gamble and ordered it. So here's the box straight out of the Amazon package. I notice on here that it doesn't have any kind of branding on the box. So they're selling this product under multiple of brand names. So let's see what's inside. So here's the brand name, WEUASTE. What's interesting is that the parts list here in the overview is very similar to the AutoCast unit that EV Rider reviewed, and that's one of the reasons I decided to get this kit, since it was about half the price. So there's the unit itself in the cover, and this looks like the ram mount type ball mounting system. So the unit itself is in its protective cover here. I don't want to just pop it out without looking at the instruction first, because I don't want to break some piece of plastic that's integral to the mounting system. So then we have a bunch of zip ties, some electrical tape, which is probably needed if you do some splicing into the 12-volt system. I'm hoping I can just use the USB connection, and that my USB outlet in the Zero motorcycle is strong enough, which is what this looks like right here. So there's USB and some kind of a pin connector. Here is a USB-C adapter. This looks like the 12-volt adapter, which is wired in. Yeah, sure enough, input 12 to 24 volts, output 5 volts, 2.5 amps. And then the physical mounting system, which looks very much like a ram mount type system with U-bolts, adapters for different bar sizes, and the 2-ball type of connector so you can mount it in different positions and locations. So if this one is too short, it looks like you can use a standard ram mount type connector. Now before I mount this on the motorcycle, I want to do all of my setup inside. So I'm going to try to use the USB connection to actually test the unit. According to the instructions, they want you to connect the 2-pin connector first, making sure that the gasket is properly applied. It is keyed, so there's really no way to screw this up. So you simply insert this the right way and then screw this shut so that the gasket is properly seated, not too hard so it doesn't squish out of the way. I'm going to use one of my home USB outlets here, which should have plenty of power, and then hope that the bike itself has a sufficient USB supply. According to Bill at EV Rider, he found that the USB connection to his AutoCast unit was sufficient to run the unit. Okay, I plugged it in. I did not tap the power button, which is up here, but it just started up. So I suspect the first thing we're going to have to do is connect it to Bluetooth to the phone. Now I'm going to go into my Bluetooth settings, pair new device, and go in here to something that says Bluetooth emission, which is kind of funny. So Bluetooth search on the unit. Okay, I found it here on my phone. It says pairing. The pin code matches, but now my screen went blank. So let's have a look. Well, look at that. It already pulled up my Google Maps and my Spotify, so it's already working. Very cool. I'm impressed how quickly this all went. So there's the X grip. Let's come off. And the new system. Just going to pop that straight in there. Put it in the same spot where my phone used to be. I don't know if that's ultimately where I'm going to want it. So I just need to open this up. And there are 2 connections in here. I had a spare that I am going to remove from here because I wasn't using it. I'm going to put the USB into the Zero USB connector. And there are 2. so I can still power my phone or one other USB-C device. So I'm going to route this past the gasket just like I did for my existing phone USB-C connector. Put this in here and squish it between the lid and the gasket. In order to get power, I need to key on the bike, which is actually how I want it because I don't want this thing powered up and draining my 12-volt battery. It's already firing up without having to hit the power button, and it's back, and it's playing my Spotify. So obviously this also confirms that there is sufficient power from the Zero's USB. And when I key off the motorcycle, it stays on for a few seconds, but then because it has no power connection, then it goes off. I'm going to flip on the key and hit the stopwatch, and it flashes off momentarily, and I'd say within 50 seconds it's up and running and is doing the music and has the map displayed. So within a minute. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to pop on right away, at least not with the combination of devices I have here. I've been living with my Android Auto screen for the motorcycle for a couple of months now. So I want to give a brief update of the features that I like and what I don't like, and to see if maybe it's worth getting for you if you ride a motorcycle and would like to have some kind of a screen that talks to your phone and possibly even talks with a headset like a Cardo. When paired with my Motorola phone, which I normally keep in my tank bag then, this thing takes over all of the navigation and the music. The features that I use the most are Google Maps and Spotify. So I found this to be pretty responsive. The screen works with the gloves that I have. Maybe the one little criticism there is these buttons are pretty tiny. So I'm wearing the motorcycle gloves. It is a little bit harder to get the touch just right, and I have to end up flat fingering it just a little bit to touch it at the right spot. In terms of lighting, I do get a lot of glare, and maybe that's just inherent with these. Maybe one of these non-glare screen protectors would be a good idea. So if I get backlighting coming and then reflecting back onto my face, then this thing is a little bit hard to see. The brightness could also be a little bit better, but in fairly normal conditions, I can at least pivot it and get it away from the glare enough to be able to see it. One other thing that I found a little bit lacking is the voice interpretation of the Google Assistant. So it's paired to the phone, but this thing has a microphone and a speaker. So if I say, navigate to Boondocks Motorsports, so it missed Motorsports. It actually got it right this time. Last time it said something like, navigate to Boondocks Santa. But you can see it didn't catch the word motor. And that's kind of what I've been finding. So maybe it's also exacerbated by the fact that I'm usually wearing a helmet and there could be wind noise. So if you're trying to give this thing a command while you're riding down the road, it's probably not going to interpret it right. So then you're back to using the keypad. According to my friend John, Google doesn't actually allow the Google Assistant to use external microphones. I'm not sure which microphone it's picking up, but I usually keep my phone in my tank bag. So if it is using the microphone on this, obviously it's going to get garbled through the tank bag fabric. The other bit of kit I've added since I got the Android Auto screen is this Cardo PackTalk Edge. So this is a system that also talks to your phone and pairs with other Bluetooth devices. So in this case, what happens is it actually pairs with this device, and then this device pairs with my phone. So there's kind of a three-way interaction going on. One of the things I was hoping for is that I could use the microphone that's inside here to then broadcast from the Cardo unit to this and make the voice interpretation better. But really, I haven't found that. Again, my friend John tells me that that's not how it works, and he actually switched back to Apple just to get around this. It's quite possible that that's the issue. Now, obviously, when I'm riding down the road, I still have wind noise through the helmet. The commands using the Google Assistant still has been a little bit lacking for this. One thing that has worked pretty well is if I listen to Spotify or commands from the GPS, those get transferred to my helmet via the Cardo system and the speakers that are inside right next to my ear. Now, within the limitations of the helmet noise, it is pretty decent sound, certainly much better than the speaker that you would get riding down the road. So overall, in terms of functionality, I'm pretty happy with the unit because now I can tuck my phone into my tank bag or some other protected area where I'm not worried about my phone getting rained on. This thing is waterproof, so I have had it rained on. In fact, I had to clean the screen before making the video because I had a bunch of water spots on it. It does come off fairly easily. Also, this unit is cheap enough that when I just pop into a store, I don't necessarily always take it off. And the way to remove it, if you do want to take it with you, is there's this little metal thumb screw. So no tools required. So loosen it. So I put a finger through here, keep a hand here so it doesn't fall out. You got your pivots on the bottom. Take it, remove it. To put it back in, when I'm ready to ride again, pop the bottom out. And you do have to remember to put the thumb screw. This so far is not a secure holding. It does snap into place, but you want to be sure and put this thumb screw back in. I did have it happen to me one time where I forgot to do that, and then all of a sudden the unit blinked off and I could tell something was weird. Put my finger back here. Oh, sure enough, I'd forgotten to put the thumb screw. One of the things I haven't really tried to do in a riding environment is to take a phone call. I'm not somebody that really wants to take phone calls. Again, I think that's something that's probably subject to the sound quality of your helmet, things like your windscreen, your speed. So if that's something that's important to you, make sure that you also have a relatively quiet helmet if you're using a system like a Cardo. Obviously, if you're using the speaker on this unit itself and the microphone with the wind, that's probably not going to work well. But I think that's independent of this unit itself. Even if you got something like an AutoCast or one of the other Android Auto type units, it's probably going to have the same issue. To me, the most important thing is the Google Maps, getting turn-by-turn directions, getting some kind of music. Obviously, you don't want to overwhelm the outside sound so you can still hear traffic. For that, the $120 to $140 that this thing typically runs on Amazon, to me, is totally worth it. So let me know your thoughts. Are there any features that would definitely be deal breakers for you or must-haves? So let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you found this useful, and we'll catch you next time.